Welcome to Experimentation 01, guys. So from last few days I was thinking of making a YouTube video, but I was like very confused what to make a video on. And I wanted to experiment with this thing where I'll record myself making a project and then I'll expand on what the project is. So let's get started with that. Let me check if my OBS is recording the screen or not. Yeah. So we making a video after a lot of time. So what basically I'm trying to improve my JavaScript fundamentals right now, working on working on basic functionalities like data fetching, async await, asynchronous JavaScript calls, and like working with API, navigating through the docs of API, and many more stuff. So basically I wanted to experiment with that. So this is what that project is. What I did is there's a subreddit called r/side projects where people post their side projects, and I recently discovered it, and it was a very good place to discover ideas and people, and the projects that the people of the community were posting were very good actually. And I was very motivated to see those projects. So I decided to scrap the data from that subreddit, and I used it to make this. So basically what it is, a very simple React app. Basically what it does is, suppose if you select the number of projects, so say suppose if you select the number of projects to be 5, which is by default. So what if I click on get ideas, so what it does is it basically scraps the recent 5 projects which people have posted. Here is the link through which you can see the project, and here is the number of comments, and the project with the most number of upvotes is shown here. So what is it? It is like we have built a simple minimalistic app to organize your life. It is called Organize Your Life. OYL, feedback much appreciated. OYL, a URL of that site. So this is what I did. So you can visit the projects by clicking on this link icon, and it takes some time, but it will take you to where the project is, and then you can check the project. So this is what it is. It is very simple web app. So say suppose if you select the number of projects to 15, click on get ideas. This is the loading icon which I did, and now it scraps 15 projects. So this is it is very simple. There are a few things that I wanted to implement with this project, but I couldn't. The first thing that I wanted to implement with this project was to sort the projects to the date, but I learned that the current Reddit API doesn't allow you to do that, so it was not possible. And there is another alternative for that. I think the push shift Reddit API, but to like I had to change the whole API, and I had to figure it out again. So I was very lazy to do that, so I neglected that part. The second thing that I wanted to do was to give the user an option to enter his or her email and get these projects mailed it to him or her. But there are two ways to doing that. Like I have to set up a Node.js server for that, Express server basically for that. So I neglected that. There is another alternative called email.js through which you can send emails through the front end React app, but it was not working out for me, and I had the deadline set up to 1 week only. So I decided not to do that. So this is what I came up with. The UI of this project is somewhat inspired by Product Hunt Chrome extension. Basically, this is what the UI I wanted to go with. So like this is somewhat similar to that UI. So this is about the project, and like this is like the this is the basic thing, the data fetching part. I wanted to work on improving my data fetching. So this is all about the project. It is a very simple project, to be honest, and it did not took much time. So, and basically I had some doubts with asynchronous JavaScript in the beginning, which I posted on the subreddit learn JavaScript. So I was like looking to understand asynchronous JavaScript in a bit more detail. And thanks to the people of the community, they like posted some resources through which I could strengthen my fundamentals. But this particular comment helped me a lot in understanding asynchronous JavaScript and the necessities of it. I'll link it in the comments below. What I have understood in building this project is like asynchronous JavaScript is used when we have a lot of tasks which we want to execute one after the other. So basically, it is a way of saying, uh, it is a way of saying to the app that wait for this task to happen and then let the other task happen. So it is like it is basically programming different tasks based on the priority orders. This is a subset of what asynchronous JavaScript is used for. Asynchronous JavaScript is used for many things, like many other things. Data fetching in general takes some time, and because it takes some time because suppose if I am requesting data from an API, so I'll send the data fetching call to that API. But in the meanwhile, if I have written a code to implement something with the data, and if the data doesn't come back, the second code will uh, run uh, run faster than the first code. So basically, it breaks my app. So flow, I hope you can understand the logical flow. The data asynchronous JavaScript is very useful sometimes. So this is it. So like this comment is extensive, deep dive into what asynchronous JavaScript is. It helped me a lot in clearing my vision about asynchronous JavaScript. I learned about something called two-phase commit protocol. Two-phase commit protocol is basically something like, suppose if I request money from a bank, so money is being credited to my account and it is debited from the bank's account. So there is a uh, two procedures are happening at the same time. Someone's money is deducting and my money is increasing. Basically, like functions are happening at the two computers simultaneously. So this is somewhat known as the two-phase commit. So but in general, two-phase commit can also be implemented by synchronous JavaScript methods. Asynchronous JavaScripts are not necessarily required while two-phase commits, but it is one example of asynchronous JavaScript, and there are many more examples. I still have to dive more deep into what asynchronous JavaScripts hold, but this is a surface layer of my understanding of what asynchronous JavaScript really is used for. And most of the tutorials and most of the people that I've seen fetching data is using asynchronous methods. So I was very much curious why, why is asynchronous JavaScript used every time while fetching data. So basically, it is to maintain the logical flow of the data, and the set of functionalities that the app performs. So in very simple terms, if I reload this application and if I click on get ideas, it first loads and then get me the projects which are posted on the subreddit. So if this is a asynchronous call, right, until and unless the data is being fetched, it will not be visible to me. The UI will not be visible to me. But if it were a synchronous code, after clicking the get ideas button, even if the data was not fetched, the UI would have been visible to me and without any of the projects scrapped. So this would have been a faulty application. So asynchronous JavaScript helped me a lot, and I can show you this in my code. For example, I'm using React hooks for this project, and this is part where I have in my logic mentioned, see this part, if loading equal to true, get projects. So if there's a boolean, I have set a boolean for loading where it is false as starting, and if you click the button, the loading becomes true, and if the loading is true, you execute the get projects function. So basically, get project function, what it does is it calls the API. See, it is a async function, async await. You can see that it is a asynchronous code. So basically, it calls the API and then it fetches the data. So this is it about asynchronous JavaScript. I am not sure that I delivered it correctly, but this is all that I have to convey. So, and one more thing, one very important framework which I learned through building this project was to destructure complex components into smaller individual components. So basically, what does it mean? So when I was building this application, there was a point where I had to find the largest number of outputs for a project, and it was an array of objects. Basically, it was an object of uh, it was a nested combination of arrays and objects. So basically, it was getting very confusing for me to implement that logic while building the app simultaneously. So I have this habit where where whenever I face some complications in my in the logic, I try to break it into smaller chunks of pieces so that it becomes easier for me to visualize the concept as a whole. So similarly, while building this project, what I did was to find out the maximum number of ups for an uh, object. I divided this part of code, and REPL.it is my go-to platform for experimenting with such logics. So as you can see here, like the I am the maximum. This object has the maximum number of upvotes. So this is the logic, and this is the logic for finding the maximum number of votes in the basically in the array. So when I run this function, I am the maximum. Basically, I can print the title of the maximum number of upvotes, and the and similar logic is also applied in my code also. You can see it here. This is similar. This is exactly similar to what I implemented there, and this framework has helped me a lot in building this application. And I cannot stress more on how important it is to restructure big functionalities into smaller chunks of pieces, into smaller chunks of codes. While learning JavaScript or while learning programming in general, no one told me about the importance of objects and arrays. But I cannot stress more on the importance of objects and arrays in general. It is very much important for a beginner to put more stress on objects and arrays. Those are very essential for any kind of application you build. So that's it. Welcome to experimentation 001, guys. So from a few days, I'm not being able to deliver that much efficiently what I mean to say, but it's like the logical flow of the data. To maintain the logical flow